Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Hertz Tropica Trade Group, and it is Thursday, February 4th. So, almost through the week. It actually kind of feels a little bit like a Friday today. It's been a long week. The price action has been pretty fast and furious. Just to kind of rehash here a little bit, look where we were just a week ago. It looked like the market was breaking down. We closed below the 50-day moving average in the S&P. The VIX was closed around a 30. Above 30 on Friday, and right now the VIX is all the way down to a 21. So, it's crazy how quickly this market can change. This is what the VIX looks like. Remember, I was saying on Friday that I just didn't know. We had a couple inside days. We closed above 30. And I said, hopefully it's what I refer to as a bout of volatility, BOUT, like we've had previously, right? We've had a couple of these. June, we had one in June. We had one in the beginning of September. We had one going into the election too at the end of October, and we had this monster green day on Thursday. Was this? No, this is Wednesday, right? And then since then we're all the way back to where it was at 21. So who knows? Maybe we start to break below 20 finally in the VIX. But again, it's one of those things where how quickly this market can change, and you really have to stay, in my opinion. Everything that we're going through, by the way, in this video is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. But everything that we're going through is is for education purposes. The other thing is, whenever you're looking at this video and if it's not in high def, give it some more time. I get this question all the time. Why is this video not in high def? Because YouTube takes a while to render it. All right, so let me get back on track. So if ever you see that, you can close the video, wait 20 minutes or something, and it should be fine. But yeah, just to kind of rehash again, where we were here on Friday, and then a move back, and we've been kind of off to the races. We had a little bit of chop yesterday, although most of the day yesterday was very nice. So you kind of have to say at this point, there's been a lot of participation. Breadth has been strong the last couple days. I'm starting to kind of, my goal today was just to kind of sell a little bit more into this strength. I mean, it's been really nice this week. I've been adding a lot of positions, rotating out of some positions, taking a lot of targets in swing trades, and basically a lot of which has been added this week. Right, I added back a lot of risk. I was out of about 85% of my exposure on Friday. And so I had to add back some things. I left on, like I said, a couple swing trades like SEC Limited, which by the way worked out really well. I got out of my last piece of this today, probably a little bit early, but I got into this thing around in the low 200s. So to take 40 points from this was very, very nice. So they've had to kind of switch gears pretty quickly, and if you could stay objective and neutral in what you're thinking the market can do rather than what the market is doing, you've been able to counter. I was moaning a little bit last week. I didn't like how my month finished for the month of January, but I could tell you I got no complaints right now. I'm having a really good beginning of the month, and I'm back to definitely back to new highs for the year in terms of P&L. So we'll kind of keep that train going, hopefully, and trying to be as smart as possible, right? It's a little bit of a juggling act. You could see, if you want to take a look at all my trades for the day, which, again, I show in every one of these videos. I don't know anybody else who really does that. Sometimes people say, oh, yeah, I did this, but I'm showing you my actual trades in this video. But I put on some Airbnb. So I've been trying to balance a little bit. I think I talked a little bit about this in yesterday's video. Having a few of like the reopening type trades, being open to like some travel names, because, we're starting to get information about the vaccine is starting to kind of really help in terms of the COVID numbers are coming down. And we heard, I mentioned in yesterday's video that New Jersey is further reopening its restaurants. You're going to have New York back online, I think just 25%. But you're also going to have today California's looking at reopening like Disney and so forth. So and some of the other theme parks. So, this is the process. We're starting to move forward, and people are going to be traveling more. So, getting, what I thought was a nice little trade. I like to own, I don't just go into like any airline. I like to look for things that I really like Airbnb, which I think is kind of the future. So, this was a trade that I got into the other day and added to it. I do that quite a bit. I'll scale into a trade. But yeah, I was able to take two targets in Airbnb. I think I had another one in here later in the day. A lot of trades today. A little bit of a decent amount of day trading too. But we have 194, paid 187. That's just from the other day. I tried taking a little bit of Square today. I think Square is fine. Option trading in Square is tough. The options always are a little bit wide. Sometimes if Square moves a little bit slow, but I think that this thing breaks out. I do. I think that's good numbers for PayPal. Usually these companies kind of move a little bit hand in hand, but really nice breakout in PayPal. We got a nice earnings trade. I went long a call spread, short a put spread, and I took both of those off for nice profits today. So that works quite well. It's in our earnings channel. Yeah, I took off a $5 wide call spread for 430, paid 167, covered a short put spread, right? So I sold that for 180, bought it back for 10 cents. So hit on both sides of that. So that was a pretty darn good trade. We'll talk a little bit about today's earnings. Goldman, I've talked about how I position in this thing, maybe a little bit too early. I think I started to kind of position into this thing in here, and, we kind of broke lower. We found the bottom of value support, and it paid off for me. Not huge because I bought it in here, but the trade did work out for me. So, it was marking as a loser last week. This week, it worked, right, to kind of hold and through that. So yeah, here's my target on SE net. So here's where like I really just started to just say, hey, if a position's not working, these really strong days in the market, they're great for just taking off a little bit of exposure, even if for a trade that's not working, right? I traded a little bit, traded a little bit of Skyworks out of this one. Netflix, this was great. This was a nice team effort in the room. One of our members, Pat, in here, threw the story in that Netflix is increasing their pricing in Japan. Anytime Netflix, I don't want to say nothing's ever 100%, but I'll tell you what I do. Whenever I hear about when Netflix is increasing pricing, right? I always buy calls as long as the stock hasn't moved too much. It usually reacts very positively to when they talk about raising prices today, and we knew exactly where to take this thing off, right? So the 5-minute, right? This was right when this announcement was being made. I bought some calls. I was just basically looking for this thing to get up to the VPOC up here, but I even sold this in here, so I didn't get the whole thing, but in any event, it worked really well. All right. I tried some Goose today. I thought Goose might be a runner. That didn't work. And a handful of other trades today too. So again, nice performance overall. At this point, how many days have we had? I'm not a mind reader. I'm not a crystal ball reader. I don't make predictions. I just know in terms of trading, when you've had 1, 2, 3, 4 green days in a row, I tend to be a net seller into that. So even though I'm still seeing opportunities, I think the financials, as we talked about earlier in the week, with what's going on in bonds, right? I tell you, some people like I see on Twitter, they're just not adding it up, right? The reason why the financials are doing so well is because bonds are moving down. So we talked about this in yesterday's video, right? When the yield curve steepens, it's very good for typically it's very good for banks, right? So we can see what the banks are doing here. This is the KRE, which I'm long in the TTG Trend Portfolio. Very strong. Oh, I didn't get to talk about this name. ZI is doing very well too. So if you go to the sectors, my spreadsheet over here, You could see that the financials were very strong today, as you would think with interest rates, as we talked about yesterday. It's interesting the semis held up pretty well despite Qualcomm and Corvo. I was a little bit worried about that today. Even though rates are moving up, the home builders are doing fine too. So when you've got a lot of sectors like this, now again, this is just one day's price action for the day, but very strong market breadth. And we've seen most of that this week, right? We've seen a lot more sectors in the green. Retail again down, right? The whole move in this XRT, right? And this relationship is still kind of going on here, but we're now back to basically we've given back that whole crazy move all the way up to 99. This was we did see bearish trades go up in XRT, but I'll tell you, there's no free lunch if you're putting on option trades. I know that you couldn't short XRT towards the end of last week. I don't know about this week, but the option trades were very expensive in this stuff. So, but I think all in all, this is good to see this come back down. Um, you know, these types of things happen, right? Where this was I think the biggest short squeeze I've ever seen, because the names that people are covering in the media, we saw every single name that had short interest go berserk last week. What's the one thing what's the one name? Right, I don't hear anybody talking about this name. Like iRobot went up to 197, 197, right, on that day last week. Even this was a big move. Just crazy moves, and anything that had short interest. All right, so I'd like to see. I'm happy things are kind of have returned to more normal, normalcy, rather than what was going on last week. All right, so that was the worst performing. Also, solar has been kind of floundering a little bit. Again, it's had such a big year. It makes sense why we're seeing a little bit of consolidation here. This group has been so strong for a while. So, let this group consolidate a little bit. The clean energy ETF is not consolidating. That's still, marching higher. So, interesting price action that we're seeing. I also traded some Starbucks. I kind of view Starbucks as an opening trade, as a reopening trade, right? There's a lot of Starbucks in airports, hotels, right? So that's kind of why I decided to take Starbucks, and I'm looking for more of those opening trades rather than tech. So we'll see. A couple of names that I played for earnings. We did a call fly for Peloton. That didn't work, right? But what's nice about a butterfly is you're not risking that much money, so very low cost on that. But Peloton basically back to where it was, yesterday. Big move today in Peloton. That sometimes happens. Pins, I went long. It's holding here at around close to 84. I would like to see it get above 85. The trade that I did was an 80-85 call spread. So it'll be, if it stays here, it'll be profitable, but we'll kind of see how that goes. Snap, which I did not play. Snap is actually getting hit pretty hard here, down to 52. So this was a good no take. Kind of just made the decision today not to put anything on for this one. So good miss there. Have to be very careful with these earnings plays. I know there's a lot of newer investors that always seem to want to play earnings, but they're very difficult, right? The option premiums are very expensive, and you kind of have this. You have some names going up, some names going down. It's not easy. Look at Zen, by the way. Zen is up to 163. Interesting. We saw a really big option print in this thing today. But I don't know if they were adding or not. It's very difficult when there's open interest, right? There was this monster print. But the open interest was 6,000, so I'll check. I mean, this is $8 million. So if they added to this, the implied volatility went up. That they made a really nice decision on this thing, because it is up to It's up to 165, 163. I wanted to play this one. I did not. Looked at it. All right, guys, that is it for today's video. Have a great night, and see you tomorrow.